College parents, this is one that's really important, rounding. So we covered rounding within the first weeks of school, and so many students have been so confused on this topic that I would highly encourage you to go over it with your student regardless of if it's on their homework or not. So when we round, we are taking a number and putting it to the nearest 10 or 100 most likely, which is what we've been doing in the classroom. However, you also can round to the nearest 5, the nearest 25, and things such as that. So I'm going to do 2 examples up here, and I'm going to use a number line to help me with my rounding. So the first number that I'm going to do is going to be, I'll do 263. Now I want to round 263 to the nearest 100. So in order to do this, I draw my number line and I put stops on both ends, and I like to put a dotted line in the middle. So my 2 stops, these are going to be my 2 options for what my answer is. And my dot in the middle, that's going to be my midway marker. So right here I have my number 263. I need to figure out what is the lower 100 and what is the higher 100. So because I'm looking at the hundreds place, I'm going to underline my hundreds place, which is a 2. I know that if I change these to 0, my number would be 200. And now on the other side, if this was 100 more, my number would be 300. So I have 200 and I have 300. Now I need to decide what number is midway between 200 and 300. So many students struggle with this concept. So I show them on the number line 0 to 10, and I show them 5s in the middle. So when that pertains to this, we know that 250 is the middle. Please make sure that your student has the correct benchmark number. So my benchmark number is 250. Now I'm going to look at this number I have, 263. I'm going to focus on the 63 part. I'm going to compare 63 to 50. Some students don't have a high enough number sense to understand that 63 is greater than 50. So a way that you can remind your student is you could tell them, if I have $50 and you have $63, who has more? So the term that we're using for more is greater. 63 is greater than 50, but sometimes you have to put it in the sense of money, or candy bars, or age for students to understand. 63, someone who's 63 is older than someone who's 50. So once we have 63 and 50, we can compare these, and you can say, 63 is greater than 50. We do not have to know exactly where it falls on the number line. We just might put it, right here. Just from it being here, we know that this half goes to 300, and we know that this half goes to 200. So seeing this number here, we're going to say 300. 263 rounded to the nearest 100 is going to be 300. Obviously, whichever number you have, that's going to dictate how your number line looks. So if you have a number that's over 400, you would need 400 and 500 here rather than 200 and 300. The next one I want to do is rounding to the nearest 10. When we round to the nearest 10, we're drawing the same number line. It's only going to be different by 10. So we still have been using 3-digit numbers when rounding to the nearest 10, so I'm going to use a 3-digit right now. I'm going to do the number 652. And we're rounding to the nearest 10. So I draw my same number line that I had before, my dots in the middle. I'm looking at the tens place. So I'm only going to change my 2 to a 0. So here I'm going to have 650 with my 0. 10 more than 650 is 660. With the 6 there, we went up 1 in the tens. Halfway between these two numbers is 655. Remember, this is not an option. If the student's number is 654. Obviously the closest to 655, but that's not an option choice. The options are either 650 or 660. So I look at my number, and I'm gonna look in the ones place. I see the 2, and here I look in the ones place at the 5. I'm looking in the ones place because here I'm in the tens. So you could, talk to your student. Is 2 greater than or less than 5? They should know 2 is less than 5. Therefore, 652, this number, falls somewhere down here on the number line. If it is on, this half, it rounds down to 650. So the answer in this case would be 650.